Dr. Suraj Yengde, your response in terms of should we in a way now be able to rise? Is it possible that this debate can be less polarized, less fractious? Or do you believe that's the nature, that there is still a lot of anger in the way the caste system is seen as inherently oppressive? So therefore, this debate will by its very nature be polarizing.
Rajdeep, to piggyback on Suman and Sanjay's pointers, the reference point to the Mandal versus Kamandal, and the idea of whole Mandal debate was within the Hindi heartland and also rest of India, of the middle Shudras and the lower Shudras who took upon the power. And now we see the same Shudras genuflecting to the power structures of the Brahminic Hinduism that you see. Lalu Prasad Yadav visits Siddhivinayak temple and does all kinds of things. Akhilesh Yadav just bows to some Brahmin man wearing certain kind of clothes. So what we see, that kind of subservience and subordination within the dynamics of the Hindutva, as opposed to atheism and rationalism that they at least propose or espouse, seems to be falling apart. And so what we saw, Mandal, Kamandal here itself means the Mandal and Kamandal like almost walking through down the same street. However, what we notice in today's context when it comes to caste as well as the dimensions of today when it comes to the neoliberal economy is that anger of caste is increasing at such a polarized level that I fear the notion of social justice will merely be reduced to be identifying as vis-a-vis caste, but not social justice, which means not just caste, but bringing justice to various other factors that include this, that again is not guaranteed in the Brahminical Hinduism model that we currently have, and the constitution very strictly abhors and prohibits.
Dr. Manivannan, taking off from that, since Udaynidhi Stalin triggered off this debate, let's try and end somewhere with Udaynidhi Stalin. Is this a sense that the Dravida movement has had numerous achievements, no doubt about it, in terms of pushing for social welfareism, for example. But the truth of the matter is, like in many other states, caste is still very strong in Tamil Nadu. I just had a story earlier this week of a group of young students who refused to eat food cooked for the midday meal because the cook was a Dalit. So, while we talk about the Dravida movement sort of trying to reform a Hindu society, the truth of the matter is caste is extremely resilient. What have the Udaynidhi Stalins of the world really done to transform that?
Yeah, can I ask one question? Like, when you say that the children in Tamil Nadu refuse to eat because it's been cooked by other caste people, is it Tamil Nadu is responsible for that, or the caste system in India is responsible for that?
I'm saying it's all over, but the fact is that the Dravida model also cannot claim to have completely achieved what it set out to do, create a casteless society.
We are talking about abolition of the caste for several thousands of years and several hundreds of years, actually. We have had Phule, Jyotibai Phule, we have had Dr. Ambedkar, Periyar, and several Dravidian leaders. It's still a long way struggle. It is not one-stop solution. Now, I want also to make a small brief mention. In Tamil Nadu, in the last few days, women have, particularly the Dalit women, have been appointed as the priests in temples and by the government of Tamil Nadu. This is not to defend the government or the Dravidian movement, but such a thing can happen in the state of Tamil Nadu. So this is why we are saying this is not just an isolated Tamil Nadu problem, but Tamil Nadu happens to articulate this for a very, very long time along with the other states. But in other states, it has always been drowned by the voices of the dominant caste and the dominant political system. But in Tamil Nadu, that another Dravidian narrative has taken over. So, this is not to say that the BJP or the Congress, but this is a national problem, but where the voice rises is you'll have to see it in the national context, and also the entire the debate has to be seen in terms of not about against the Brahminical community or the OBC's power or the Dalit status, but it has to be seen in context of spreading the distributional justice and taking the justice further and forward. If you look at this debate in that context, I certainly, but in terms of political contest and competition, there will always be very aggressive narratives. But what I see in this situation is that this is an election year, and this is like, even if the Congress wants to avoid this debate, there is no way that BJP will let this debate slip out of its hand.
Okay.
But it has to be just seen in a way as to be beyond the Congress. There are parties like Rashtriya Janata Dal and Samajwadi Party, and then the Bahujan Samaj, and all these parties have to address this narrative. And this is why I think this debate is even whether at one time it was seen as like in India, Hindutva versus the other religions. But inside now the Sanatan Dharma, it's inside the Hinduism. This debate has to be kind of take its logical course.
I'm getting two more. I'm getting two more fingers. One Sumant Raman and then Sanju Verma. Don't worry, be patient. I will come to you first, Sumant Raman.
Yeah, Rajdeep, look, the objective of the Dravidian movement to call it caste, eradication of caste, is the biggest hoax that anybody can play. The objective was to remove the Brahmin domination and replace it with the domination of 4 or 5 or 6 landed, politically entrenched, powerful communities which had a vote bank. And that has been done very successfully, which is why you will find that the Dalits are still oppressed. There is still a two-tumbler system, and the Brahmins are nowhere in Tamil Nadu. They are hardly 2.5–3%. They are completely disappeared from the villages. And yet you have separate burial grounds. You have separate, there are roads through which the funeral procession of Dalits are not allowed to pass. There is casteism in every breath in Tamil Nadu. It is just that those who are indulging in this caste oppression are different. And the Brahmins who are 2.5–3% in Tamil Nadu have become a convenient whipping boy to continue to propagate the dominance of these intermediate communities. Take the Justice Party, which was the precursor of the DK. Almost all of those founders, many of those founders were educated in Oxford and Cambridge. Were they all poverty-stricken people? They were dominant landed communities from the intermediate communities, and that is the group. Recently, there was human feces mixed in a water tank in a village in Tamil Nadu. Did anybody from the DMK go out there, condemn the incident unequivocally and take stern action?
Yes, but having said that, in the context of when I look at South India and North India, there are still strong progressive elements that have also come as a result of the social revolution that came about in Tamil Nadu. And in North India, by contrast, the political revolution, some would say, has preceded the social revolution. But Sanju Verma, you are getting impatient. It's interesting, the Prime Minister is locating this as a cultural debate. He says Sanatan culture is all about Lord Ram's principles. Sanatan Dharma made Ravidas and Kabir Das saints. But there are, as I said, those who will also see it from the prism of, in a way, protecting certain old ways in which Hinduism functioned, the darker side of Hinduism. Is there a recognition of that or not?
Okay. I think, Rajdeep, I will listen to you on a lecture on the darker side of Hinduism the day you can give me a lecture on the darker side of Islam and the darker side of Christianity.
Today's debate is on Sanatan Dharma, man.
Yes, so now let me finish. You did not interrupt the other speakers. Please don't stick to your bad habit of going on poking and needling the BJP and then saying we are impatient.
Yes.
But thank you for your certificate, which is not needed. Now let me tell you one thing. I just want also Suraj Yengre to listen to this because he's a scholar and he will appreciate this. Just before the Mahabharata was about to begin, and I'll take 20 seconds to say this. In the Bhagavad Gita, when Lord Krishna gives that famous sermon to Arjuna, because Arjuna is vacillating and not sure whether he wants to fight against his cousins, the Kauravas. What does Krishna say to Arjuna? And this is the essence of Sanatan Dharma, because the word Sanatan it has its genesis in the Bhagavad Gita. Let me finish in 20 seconds. Don't get impatient now, Rajdeep. Lord Krishna says, Katura Varnam Maya Srishtam. Katura Varnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. Which basically means Krishna is telling Arjuna, the 4 Varnas are my creation based on Guna as in ability and Karma as in action. And then you will find in the abridged version of the Bhagavad Gita, there's a footnote which says that the Varna system, which is being wrongly criticized and attacked in the current day, is a system based purely on ability and action. and not by birth, and that is why all the characters in Mahabharata were named and referred to by their actions and abilities, not by their birth. And you do not know the surname of any character in Mahabharata because they did not believe in the caste system. Do you know the surname of Arjuna? Do you know the surname
ma'am, the
of
fact
Dhritarashtra?
is, ma'am,
Do you know
I
the
must,
surname
producer,
of Bhishma?
I must, you made, the fact is the reality, we are reflecting reality on the ground. I think Dr. Suraj Yengde was reflecting the reality on the ground. The fact is, the reality on the ground is that caste has been extremely resilient in this society in terms of discriminating between people even today. Am I correct, Dr. Yengde? Do you see, just as Sanatan Dharma is seen as eternal and, is caste also for you? Carved in stone that it simply cast in stone that it simply cannot change?
I mean, Rajib, it baffles me and it really concerns me to hear people justify caste. I mean, there's absolutely no reason for any despicable system to thrive amongst us, and yet we offer more often liturgical evidences and citations for its sanctity. And this is the tragedy. What does Rajdeep have to do with Rajdeep Sardesai? What does Suraj have to do with Suraj Yengde or Sanju Verma as Sanju Verma, Sanjay Jha, Sanjay Jha? It is the immanence of caste and also eminence, which is an internal structure that is functioning here. And I would like to not blackball the Dravidian movement here, because what we're seeing is, yes, certainly the caste hierarchies have been penetrated minus Brahmins, because Brahmin worked as a uniting factor. Nevertheless, they are arguing, Udayanidhi's statement is to abolish that. And we have to understand, Sanatan Dharma as a political coinage made by Tiruma Valavalan, as opposed to the Sanatanis of Sanatan Dharma who would like to maintain a certain religious superiority and who have been the people who identify themselves as Sanatanis, have always, when we have seen, adduced to a certain orthodox, very rigid way of living a life.
Okay.
So when the Dravidian parties in Tamil Nadu are arguing against Sanatan Dharma, though they belong to the intermediary or dominant landed aristocracy, we have to understand that they would like to abolish caste and not uphold. And that would still mean, and that's a challenge, how will they decaste themselves and how will they burn the casteism that is grown within their vein? Because they are not immune to caste. While pointing out the fingers at the Brahmin as an individual actor, as a Ubermensch, as somebody that needs to be receiving a certain kind of glory, the DK has created a politics, and the great Periyar comes across as somebody who is not just concerned with Brahmin as such, but he's also concerned with caste existing within the hierarchy. And that's why his critique of Krishna is deep. His critique of
It's fascinating listening to you, Dr. Yengde, because it is important to have these alternate narratives.